Hello.
Shavua Tov, how are you?
Hello, very well. And you?
It's beautiful. Yes.
Good, good.
Uh, off to Hong Kong tonight?
Oh, you are?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh. Have a safe trip.
Thank you. Thank you.
How
No,
long, how long are you going for? 2 days?
I'll be back for Shabbos.
Oh, a whole week.
Almost a whole week.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And you take that escalator to go to the shore?
No, I stay on the other side.
Oh,
I stay on the Kowloon side.
oh. So you go gambling.
No, no, they don't make a life of me. No.
Hi, Ernie.
Good evening, Gidva.
I give
Good
up.
talk, good talk.
We're on Chavav 26. Toshma. Dam shenitmo uzrako, dam that became tummy and they threw it anyways. So if he did it b'shogeg hortza, b'mezid lo hortza. If he did it b'mezid, now the Rav Shila made a distinction only regarding tumah, but not the zrika. So the Gemara says, "Achi komer dam shenitma." Let's say dam became tummy, and the Kohen did the zrika anyways. Ben b'shogeg, ben b'mezid. It depends if nitma b'shoigeg, if the dam became tummy by accident, then whether you threw it b'shoigeg or b'mezid, it's accepted. However, if let's say someone was matami the blood b'mezid, then no matter what, lo hurtza, and that fits with what Rav Shila said. Mishnah. So after you do the kmitza, you eat the shirayim. The kohanim eat the shirayim. What if it became tummy nitmu shireha or nisrafu shireha? Let's say they got burnt, or avdu shireha. And you did this, you did the kmitza, and you threw the kmitza. So there's a machlokas by an animal korban between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Eliezer said, even though there's no meat remaining, you can do zrika. According to Rabbi Yoshua, if there's no meat, if there's no kazayas meat left, either got lost or got burnt or became tomei, you don't do the zrika. So the same machlokas by an animal korban exists by a mincha. Kamidas Rabbi Eliezer ksheira. According to Rabbi Eliezer, even though there's no shiraim left, you can offer the kmitza. You can throw the kmitza no matter what. Kamidas Rabbi Yeshua psula. But if there's no shiraim left or became tomei or lost, then you don't do zrik of the kmitza. And Amar Rav says the Gemara v'husha nitmu kol shirah. That's if there's mamish no shiraim left. Aval mikza shirah lo. But if there's still some shirayim left, even according to Rabbi Yeshua, you can throw the kmitza. Kasaka daitach. This qualification that we made is only regarding nitma. Nitma in ovid v'sarif lo. That means if some of the shirayim got lost or burned, l'chora, the way Rav is learning, we wouldn't throw the kmitza. So what is Rav holding? Mike Sova. Iksav shira milsahi. If having some shirayim left is all you need, then afilu ovid v'saruf nami. As long as some was remained, it should be okay. Iksav shira lav milsahi. Has nothing to do with the shira. It has to do with the kmitza. Excuse me. It has to do with the tzitz. That when it comes to tumah, the tumah is sort of absolved by the tzitz. Benitman, my time, the maratz tzitz. Well, based on that, yachi kol shira nami. then it should be even if all the shirayim, not just part of the shirayim, because the tzitz would take care of it. So the Gemara answers, Lo dem k'savar shira milsi. No. Rav holds that as long as there's some shirayim left, even Rabbi Yeshua would hold you can throw the kmitza. And v'nitma v'uadin loved the surf. It doesn't just apply to tumah. It has nothing to do with the tzitz. Even if some of it was lost or burnt, as long as some remains, a kazayas l'chora, you could throw the kmitza. So why did he state v'aydekomer nitma? Reishayu nokat, because that's the first of the psulim. You have avud v'saruf, but it talked about nitma first. So, but he just mentioned it. He dealt with tumah because it mentioned it first. And the Gemara is going to give a proof that Rabbi Yeshua does not passel if some of the shirayim remains. Kidatanya. Rabbi Yeshua Omer kol hazvachim shebetor al korbanos. Shnishtar mem kazayis basar kazayis chelev. As long as there's still some basar or chelev left, zorik kasadam, you could do the zrika. That would apply by the mincha too, as long as there's some of the shirayim left. So that's the proof that we're looking for. The brisa continues. Kazayis basar, kachatzi zayis basar, kachatzi zayis chelev. Now, basar is eaten, chelev is thrown. We don't, according to Rabbi Yeshua, there's no itztarfus. Ein zorik kasadam, you don't have the kazayis. Now, in Ola, there the meat is also burned. So afilu v'chatzi zayis basar v'chatzi zayis chelev, there's itztarfus because everything is burnt. Zarek kasadam they should kula kolu. Uvemincha afilu kula kayemes lo yizrok. Then it makes the brisa makes a strange statement, as at least in this context, that if the mincha is fully intact, don't do the zrika. Now, what do you mean? Mincha, what are you talking about? The mincha? We're talking about an animal korban. On Rav Papa, by the animal korbanos, wine libations, which means wine and flour, were brought. That's called minchas nesachim. And there was a havamina, salkadaiti chol ba'adi zevach kasi. Since the minchas nesachim is brought along with the korban, I would think kegufet is ifchadamya. It's considered like part of the korban itself. And even if only the minchas nesachim remains and no meat and no chelev, no nothing, just the mincha, maybe you could throw the blood. Kamashwan that you can't. There has to be either a kazayas chelev or kazayas basar. Now, Menanamili, where do we see that in this sheet of Rabbi Yeshua that as long as there's a kazayas left of the meat, that you could throw the blood? Some says Rabbi Yeshua, Amar Kra, the chelev is thrown for a pleasant aroma. Chelev afal pisha ein basar. Means even if there's no basar, as long as there's chelev, that's enough. Ashkan chelev. What about yoseres u'shtei kloyos? The two kidneys and the diaphragm. There's no chelev, but those things are left. How do we know that you could do the zrika? The Brisa said, if the mincha is fully there, we still don't throw it. And we're talking about mincha hu lo yizrok. It's only if the minchas nesachim is the only thing that remains that we don't throw it. Ha yoseres u'shnei kloyos yizrok. But if you have the two kidneys and the diaphragm remaining, you can. How do we know that's minola? Rav Yochanan didei omar l'reach nichoyach. The good smell. Kol sha'at tamale l'reach nichoyach. If you have something to put on the mizbech that's going to provide a pleasant aroma, then you can do the zrika. V'itzrich l'michtav chelev, v'itzrich l'michtav l'reach nichoyach. V'ikos of chelev, if you only wrote chelev, having a chelev in your search kloyos low. I would have thought only chelev, but not the search kloyos, because rachmana reach nichoyach. Because of rachmana reach nichoyach, having a filu mincha. When you throw the minchas nesachim, that also creates a reach nichoyach. So if you only had reach nichoyach, I would have thought even that you could do zrika sadam if only that remains. Because rachmana chelev, that it's actually got to be part of the animal itself. It can't be the minchas nesachim that comes along with the the animal. Good Vach, George. We are on Chaf Vav, Amud Aleph, the second Mishnah. We're about to start the second Mishnah. So we learned that. So George, we're on Chaf Vav.
Yep.
Amud Aleph, second Mishnah. The normal process is the flour and the oil was sanctified in a kli shoris. That's where it had to start. Then the Kohen did the kmitza and took some, and what we've been learning so far, according to most of the opinions, you have to throw that into a second kli shoris. Just like when you shecht an animal and you kabbalah, you receive the blood in a kli. It's a kli underneath the neck of the animal. So too, the kmitza had to be put into a kli shoris. Then they walked that over to the mizbech and threw it. That's the process. Now, this Mishnah says shelo b'kli shoris pasul. The Tanna Kama says, let's say the Kohen did the kmitza and didn't put it in a kli shoris. Let's say he walked it over and directly threw it on the fire. According to Tanna Kama, pasul. Reb Shimon Machshir, Reb Shimon says it's okay. Another halacha. Hiktir koimtza pamayim. Let's say he didn't throw the kmitza all at once. He threw part of it, then threw another part. Ksheira. So that's kosher. Now, my time at Reb Shimon, why does Reb Shimon say that even though you didn't put the kmitza in a kli shoris, it works? Amr kodesh kadoshim he, a mincha is considered kodesh kadoshim, kachatos v'cha'osha. What is this? Bala oivde biyad. A Kohen did the chatas with his right hand, right? He dipped the finger of his right hand into the blood and applied it to the mizbech. So, bala oivde biyad, oivde bimin kechatas. As long as he uses the right hand, it's okay. And l'chor, he never has to put it in a kli shoris, is the way the Gemara is learning. If he wants, he can do it b'kli. And not only that, oivde small ka'asham. An asham can offer the asham with the left hand. And similarly, basically, Reb Shimon says you could offer the kmitza either in a kli shoris or not in a kli shoris. But l'chora, according to this approach, the Kohen would have to do it with his right hand. Rav Yanai Omar, kivan shekmatzu kli shoris. If the mincha started off in the right thing in a kli shoris, and you did a kmitza from a kli shoris, maleyu maktira afilu b'emyonov afilu b'mekeda shel cheres. You don't need to put it in a kli shoris. You don't even have to put it in your hand. You could carry it with your belt, or even with any kind of pot. You don't have to put it in your right hand. You don't have to do, as long as you convey it over to the mizbech and throw it, that's okay. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, a different approach. That hakol moedin, the Tanna Kama and Rav Shimon, bekoimetz sheton kiddush. That when you do the kmitza, even though l'chor doesn't say it in the Mishnah, even Rav Shimon holds you have to put it in a kli shoris. What happens afterwards is the Tanna Kama says you have to transport it to the mizbech in a kli shoris. But according to Rav Shimon, no. Once it's in a kli shoris, it has. Then you can take it out of there and carry it by hand. Meisvei. Hector chalovim vevorim ve'etzim. Burning of the fats and the limbs and the wood. Shehel on ben biyad ben bekli. That were put up on the mizbech either by hand or by kli. Ben biyamin ben besmol ksherin. Kosher. However, hakoimetz, the kmitza, vaktoris, the incense, valavoina, the spice, shehel on ben biyad ben bekli. So l'chora, you can do it with your hand or a kli. Ben biyamin, ben bismol ksherin. And this is a kasha on the shita that said that Rab Shimon says you have to use your right hand, because here it says you can use your left hand. To use the Rab Yudah Braid Rav Chia, whose opinion was that Rab Shimon required at least using your right hand. The Baraisa is not talking about the same thing. Biyad, when you're doing it with your hand, then in a chanami, biyamin. Bekli, ben biyamin, ben besmall. If you do it in a kli, it can be done right hand or left hand. That doesn't go against Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda only said if you do it with your hand, you have to do it with your right hand. Toshma. Konso shalom mikli sharis. If the initial mincha was not in a kli sharis, and you did the kmitza from the mincha that was not in a kli sharis, another case is it wasn't a kli sharis, but the kitsha shelo b'kli sharis, you placed the kmitza not in a kli sharis, and vehelu v'aktira shelo b'kli sharis, and you brought it up to the mizbeach not in a kli sharis, possible. Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon, machshiri matan kli. Rabbi Shimon says if you put it in a kli, it's okay. Even if you put it in a not in a kli sharis. Now that's a kasha of Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, who said everybody agrees it has to be in a kli sharis. Eima mimatan kli velech. Rav Nachman wouldn't be metaretz. The Bryce is talking about after you put it in that initial kli sharis. Then afterwards, whatever you want, you could do. So not a kasha on him. Toshma. Chachamim oimrim koimates torn kli sharis. After you do the kmitza, you have to put in a kli sharis. Ketzad. Come to mikli sharis. The mincha started off in a kli sharis. You did the kmitza. Umekatra b'kli sharis, and you placed it in a kli sharis. Umalo maktir b'kli sharis, and then you brought it up and did it in a kli sharis. Reb Shimon Oimer kiven shekmatzo mikli sharis. As long as you do the kmitza from a kli sharis. Malo maktir shelo b'kli sharis v'dayo. You don't have to put it in another kli sharis. It's enough that you start with a kli sharis. So again, it's a kasha of Nachman bar Yitzchak, who said everybody hakol moedim that they put in the kli sharis. So again, Ema, you have to learn or amend the price we just quoted. Kiven shekamtzu v'kitshu b'kli sharis. Once you did the kmitz and you put in the kli sharis, then malo maktir v'dayo no matter what, and then everybody is okay. Toshma. Komatz b'yamino v'nosam b'smolo. You did the kmitza, then you put the kmitza in your left hand. So yachzer liyamino. He has to put it back in his right hand. If b'smolo, if it's in his left hand, and while it's in his left hand, chishev aleha, he had in mind to eat of the mincha, bein chutz l'mkomo, bein chutz l'zmano, posel vein bakaris. It doesn't create pigul because in the left hand it's not a valid place. B'yamino, but if the kmitza is in his right hand and chishev aleh chutz l'mkomo, he thinks about eating it in Tel Aviv, posel vein bakaris. But if he chutz l'zmano, he thinks about eating it tomorrow, pigul v'chen lo kares. Divrei Blez Rab Shimon. So you see, Rab Shimon requires for halachic purposes for the mincha to be in the right hand. Divrei Eliezer Rab Shimon. Excuse me, Divrei Eliezer. Rab Shimon, Divrei Eliezer Rab Shimon. So Rab Shimon is holding that's got to be in the right hand. The Chachamim are kiven shenastal is small. Once you put in your left hand, the whole thing is gone. Now, my time, why is the Chachamim hold? Mishum de boy kedusha b'kli, because it was never put in a kli. The kiven shenastal is small. It's as if you nasa kedam shenishbach mitzaver beim al ritzvah. If you shecht an animal, the blood pours on the ground. That's it. You can't resuscitate it. as opposed to if you receive the blood in a kli and then you dropped it on the ground, you can pick it up from the ground and put it back in the kli. But here you can't. That's not a apostle. But Michlal, Rav Lezer, Rav Shimon, lo boy matan kli. Here comes out that Rav Shimon does not require it putting into a kli, just in the left hand, put it back in your right hand and go. To Yufta Rav Nachman, who said that even Rav Shimon requires a kli. To Yufta. Okay, we can't resuscitate Rav Nachman. Le Rav Yehuda Braid Rav Chimasayale. The fact that the Brisa said you have to put it back in your right hand, that supports what Rav Yehuda Rav Chia said. That as long as it's your right hand, you don't have to put it in the kli. What about Rav Yanai? Rav Yanai was the second opinion that said you don't need anything. But Lema Tevet Tiyufta. Rav Yanai said you could. Now, according to Rav Yanai, you could bring it even in your belt. You could bring it even on your head. You certainly don't have to transfer it back from the left hand to the right hand. So we want to say, let it be a Tiyufta Rav Yanai. Rav Yanai, Anod Amri Kitana de Hector. That which I say, that everything is kosher, even if you do it with the Kohen's belt, we're talking about the chaylev, and not the kmitza. The lavlet stodim ktani. It's referring to the burning of the chaylev that the Brisa started off with. So it's not a kasha on him. Okay, then the Mishnah said.
Anyway, where do we learn out that it's got to be right-handed? I mean, where do we learn that?
Remember we had the din etzba and kahuna. Remember we had a whole machlokas before that one said if it just says etzba,
it's right.
Enough, it's right. Because we're talking about, because they did it with etzba biyamin.
I know.
So if it says etzba and kohen, everybody agrees it's got to be done with the right hand.
Right. So why there even a machlokes on that now?
No, because they brought where Rav Shimon hang on. Rav Yanai says, Maleo maktir afilu ben yano. You don't have to do it with your right hand. You don't have to do it with your left hand. You could carry it even in your belt.
The belt, I get it. But
Rav Shimon learns kachatas u'ka'asham, right? Kodesh kodeshim kachatas v'cha'asham, and so does Rav Yanai. The asham was done with the left hand, not like a chatas. So that's where they learned that. But the left hand, it's okay. Hikter koimtsu pamaim ksheir. We said that even if he didn't throw the kmitza one shot, he did it in multiple throwings. It's okay. However, Amri Rav Shimon Levi pamayim, only two. Pamay, but not more than two. Rav Yehuda Amar pamay v'afilu pamay. You could do it in as many throws as you want. Might be not. What's the nafkamina? Amr Rav Zera. Whether yesh koimetz pachos mishnei zeisim. When you do a kmitza, you have to start off at a minimum with 2 kazaisim. And there's also machlokas whether yesh haktorah pchusa mikazayis. When you burn something, can you burn something less than a kazayis? Is it could be now? Is the nafkamina between Rabbi Yoshua and Rabbi Yochanan? Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi Sover ein komitz pachos mishnei zeisim. You have to do a minimum of 2 zeisim. Ve'ein haktorah pchusa mikazayis. So now we understand why it can only be 2 and no more. Because at a minimum, you could have 2, and you can't throw less than a kazayas. So you can never do. You always have to have the minimum in mind, so you would never be able to do less than 2. You wouldn't be able to do more than 2 throwings. But for Rav Yochanan, number one, yesh koimetz pachos mishnei zeisim. You can do kmitza less than 2 zeisim. V'yesh haktorah pchusa mikazayas, and you can do kmitza even less than a kazayas. We follow we have the Rambam paskins like Yeshua ben Levi that you need 2. Itmar. Koimetz memesai mater shirayim bachila. we know the process of a mincha is once you throw the kmitza, the kohanim can eat the shirayim, that's which is left. Well, what point can you eat? Rav Chanina Oimer, Mishemashlo bo es haor. It just part of the kmitza. The fire takes hold of part of the kmitza. Rav Yochanan Mishetatis bosa or berubo. More than 51% of the kmitza has to be burning. Then you can start eating. Amar le Rav Yehuda le Rabba bar Rav Yitzchak. Az bilchatayim Rav Yochanan. I will explain to you the svar Rav Yochanan. Amar kra. V'nei ala kitora aretz ki kitora kivshan. This is by stone. That the kitora aretz is smoke going up like a furnace. Ein kivshan malekito achetatisa or berubo. The furnace doesn't emit smoke unless 51% of what's in there is fire has started burning 51%. Amrei Ravim Baravad L'Rava. Amri Talmid Cham Rav Amram. Your student's name of Rav Amram said, Tanya. Ainly, it says, Hiya oila al moigda al mizbeach kol alayla ad aboker. Parts of the oil was burnt even at night. Ainly al dvorim shedarkan likarv balayla. I might think that this pasuk only refers to things where you can actually offer them at night. Kigon evor mupdorim. The fats, the limbs, shemalan umaktiron miboar shemesh. You can offer them even after shkiyas hachama, after the sun is set. Umisaklin v'hochin kol halayla kol. It can be consumed and burnt the whole night. Now, dvorim shedarkan likarv bayom. Kigon komets. The kmitza could not be offered at night; had to be offered in the day, or the ktoires, or minchas kohen Mashiach, the mincha of the kohen gadol, minchas the sachim. Shemal umaktir miboar shemesh. That you can offer them after shkia. What do you mean? V'ha'amrit darken lekarv bayom. Ella im boa shemesh, which means right before shkia. Now what? Umis aklin v'hochin kol halayla. That even those items that are supposed to be offered in the daytime, and they were offered 30 seconds before Shkiyas Hachama, where there's no way that it could be completely consumed, like Rav Yochanan, 51%. Yet it's allowed to be burned all night. Minayim Talmud Omer, Zois Toras HaOila Riba. Zois Toras HaOila says that even those items that you think maybe putting it in so soon before Shkia, they are marbe that they are allowed to do it. Now, v'ha'im bo'ar shemesh lo mishkach v'zutatis or berubo. If you brought it 30 seconds before Shkia, it's impossible that the flame should have taken hold to 51%. So this seems to be a kasha on Rav Yochanan. Loi kasha, there's two different things we're looking at here. There's a concept of liklot. Can you leave something on the mizbeach once it's put there? There, it doesn't require 51%. Kan lahatir. Rav Yochanan gave us the halacha, when can you eat the shirayim? Eating the shirayim and liklot, whether the mizbeach takes hold of it and can keep it there, has two different criteria. La'achila, you need 51%. To keep hold, that we have a ribuy and a pasuk to tell you, as long as you put it up before Shkiyas Hacham, it can stay there at night. Now, Rabbi Elazar Masti Lo Mibo Hashemesh. Rabbi Elazar learned the Baraisa, not like we learned, that it's all, that these things were put on after Shkia, but we're talking like mukim la b'poikin. The ketores, the things that were supposed to put on the day, were put on the day. But then the fire, because of the roaring fire, it threw them off. So how do you know that you can put them back? That's what the Baraisa was talking about. And therefore, it's not a kasha on Rav Yochanan, because we're not talking about placing something on it 30 seconds before Shki, and then you can burn it all night. It has nothing to do with that. Now, Umiyam Rav Yanai Hachi? Does Rav Yanai really talk about poikin? Bam Rav Yanai, Ktoires, you have incense, Shapokam El Gabi HaMizbeach. If it got thrown off the Mizbeach through fire, even if there are substantial pieces, you're not Machzir Ktoires. So how can you tell me that Rav Yanai learns the Baraisa referring to poikin? He holds beferish that Ktoires can't be returned. The Tani Rav Chanina bar Manyumi Dvei Rav Eliezer ben Yaakov, Asher tochal ha'esh esa ola lamizbeach, ikulei ola tamachzir. Limbs of the ola you can return. V'yata mazri kuluk toires. And for the Gemara, sami mikan ktores. That baraisa, the ktores, has to be removed from that baraisa in order for it to make sense. And Rabbi Yanai Enachlami learns it. It's poikin, but the ktores is not there. It's only the other things. Minchas Komoshiach, Minchas Tesachim, the koimets. Okay. Ravasi. He poshet Rabbi Elazar ben Menachos. When Rabbi Elazar was teaching Masechta Menachos, boy hachi, he asked the following question: koimets shesidro. The kohen put the koimets on the mizbeach. V'sider alav esamarocha. Then he put the wood on top of it. Right? Normally there's a grill made up of wood, and you put the ketores on top of the wood, the grill. What if the grill was, you put the ketores on the bottom, the ketores was put on top? Now, do we consider that derech haktor b'kach? Oh, ain't derech haktor b'kach? Is that considered derech haktor, or is it a shinui? Teiku. The Gemara doesn't answer. Leaves it as a suffix. Boy Chizkiah. Same din regarding the Evorim. One second. Who's there? Who's there? Sorry, my friends. Boy Chizkiah, Evorim Sidron. The limbs of the ola were put on the mizbech. V'sidir alein samaracha. Then the wood was placed on top of it. Mau. Ala eitzim amrachmana. It says on the wood. Davka ala eitzim. Odil makiven diksiv kroachrina. Asher tochala eish es haolala mizbech. As long as the fire consumes the oila, iboy hachid avid, iboy hachid avid. Maybe you have a choice, and you can arrange it the way you want. Teku. Again, it's teku. Boy Rav Yitzchak Nafcha. Evon shesidron b'tzidei amarocha mau. You put the limbs on the side of the arrangement of the wood. Alibad mandamer al mamish. Right? Maybe there's a mandamer that says you have to put it on. So then lo tiboilach. There's no shaila. Daleitzim ksiv. Ki tiboilach alibad mandamer al besamuch. There's some people who learn al, the meaning of the word al means near. My. Hachanami al besamuch. Oidilna ala eitzim dumya di ala mizbeach. Mamish, you have to put the fire, the wood definitely has to be put on the mizbeach. Afachanami al mamish. Teku, again, the Gemara bleibt mit der Teku. Okay. Tomorrow, 7 o'clock.